Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel where I talk about random nerdy nonsense that I enjoy. I'm completely ignoring the fact that I haven't posted in a year. If you're new here, welcome. This is a channel where we talk about ideas, we discuss philosophy, we discuss psychology and psychoanalysis, and we talk about religions. Today's topic is about freedom, and without any further ado, let's jump right into it. If you want more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Wow, the background is a complete mess. Definitely gonna try and fix that later. But a full disclaimer is needed if we wanna talk about a topic like freedom. It is generally harder to achieve freedom when fascists are at your doorstep, when your physical freedom is being restricted. Right now, Israel, the genocidal state, has broken the ceasefire with Lebanon over 2,000 times so far, and it has murdered hundreds of civilians. The point is, I don't want to be babbling about philosophical ideas while my people suffer. Need to be a bit more pragmatic. So I've left a few links down in the description if you wanna get more educated on the topic or if you wanna donate to anyone in need. May God help this country. Now that that's out of the way, let's discuss freedom. What is freedom? If we want to talk about freedom, we have to talk about resistance, which is the political implication of what freedom is. So, resistance in these dire times has to happen from within, from the individual level. We have to resist with our minds, our hearts, our actions, so that it may influence the collective. And obviously, resistance also happens through marches, through revolutions, through helping your people in need. But I am no expert in that field, and I don't think you need an expert for that. If you want to help someone in need, go help someone in need. But because I am more educated on the individual, because I am a psychology student, I will be discussing that. I will be discussing how we resist this system that is trying so desperately to control us. We have to understand that according to the cognitive model, thoughts influence emotions and emotions influence behavior. So it's safe to say that whoever controls thoughts or the way we perceive this reality or the way we think in general controls our behavior. And whoever keeps this corrupt system going are the people that want to control our thoughts and thus our behavior. When we discover that, when we discover ourselves, our unconscious, so that we may not be controlled in such a manner, if you want, when we become free of our own ignorance towards ourselves, then the tyrant's power will fall. This is quite unrelated, but I've been under this false notion that whoever lives their lives religiously is aware and conscious and achieved total freedom, while the opposite of that, someone, let's say, that lives hedonistically, is actually running away from death and totally unconscious and whatever. But okay, I will come back to this statement later. Basic science teaches us that all of us are unconscious. This is an idea backed up by both psychoanalysis and neuroscience. There's this great book by Mark Solms that explains this. So much of your cognitive processes and thus your wishes and emotions happen on an unconscious level. And within the unconscious, let's say in psychoanalytical terms, there are so much unprocessed emotions and thoughts and certain patterns that influence the very way we see reality itself. It even influences our senses, the way we think, the way that we deem to be so objective. You could even be a scientist, full on, an empiricist, and still you will be influenced by unconscious processes. We interpret reality by the brain, and the brain is based on your own subjective experiences, and thus your experiences are what create the way you perceive reality. As above, so below. And now you might be asking, isn't this completely opposed to the idea of being free? If I am unconscious fundamentally, if I am within the shackles of my own mind, how is it even possible to be free on a grander scale? And I'm saying this because we need to understand the depths of this problem. We need to address it fully if we actually want to solve it. I don't think solve is the right word here. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that most people, whenever they hear that they are unconscious, they refuse this idea. Freud even said this, that his discovery of the unconscious mind was a trauma, a shock to the collective ego. But being an optimist generally, why do we have to think about it that way? I think the same way darkness constellates the stars, ignorance constellates knowledge. And in that sense, when we dive deep into this pit of the unconscious, we're gonna discover a massive power within us that has been restricted. Perhaps you are even refusing the idea of being unconscious because within your unconscious there is a power, let's say your higher self, that wants to be discovered. In a way, I think it is kind of ironic. But you want freedom, but the only way out is through, and in this sense, from within. I'll have to explain that the biggest enemy to achieving freedom is being unconscious. And let's think of the unconscious, oftentimes neurotic man. The main emotion of the unconscious neurotic person is fear. And if I know anything about fear, whoever is afraid is easily controlled. Fear is the state of living in which the elite want to keep us in. What makes this man so scared, this unconscious man, is the conflict within himself, in his own psyche. It is a conflict between the ideal I, between the rights and wrongs that he has been taught, not ones that he specifically is convinced by, but he just is led by the blind. And the id, the part of him that he represses most, the part of him that he's so unaware of, his true desires, his instincts, his drives, whatever you want to call it, his repressions oftentimes. And remember this crucial detail. We fear that which we don't know. Perhaps this is why we are so afraid of what we actually want and of this power within us. We reject it. But if you listen really closely, the way out, the way to no longer be neurotic is, by the very definition, you find the answer. So first of all, the unconscious neurotic man believes in rights and wrongs, but he isn't convinced by them. He didn't challenge these beliefs. He is just being led blindly, aimlessly, let's say. And think about how many absolute truths that you hold so dearly without even considering another perspective. And to be brutally honest here, this applies to all ideologies. I'm not saying that you should be swept around by aimless skepticism and whatever. I'm saying that no one in this life is gonna give you the truth as it is. You have to create one for your own, or at the very least, find it. You have to read, reflect, experience, explore stuff. That's how you find the truth. No one is gonna teach it to you. There really are a lot of ways in which you can discover this. You can do shadow work to discover your own unconscious. You can go to therapy. I highly advise that. Everyone needs therapy. You can see the arts to reflect on the drama within yourself. Ask yourself uncomfortable questions like, what am I running away from? How am I repressing myself? What am I missing here? Ask yourself these questions. And secondly, the part of that answer is the unconscious man does not know himself fundamentally and is even afraid of his own desires and his own wishes. We all know the father of philosophy, Socrates, was yelling. Okay, he wasn't the father of philosophy, he was the father of Western philosophy, let's say. But we all know that he was yelling, "Know thyself," on his deathbed over and over again. So you gotta ask these questions to yourself. So many of us are asking, what am I gonna do with my life? But none of us are asking, why am I gonna do it? It's about being true to yourself. It's about really being authentic. For so long, and I think many of you can relate, I have asked myself, what do I want in this life in general? And I wasn't satisfied with any answer. I have been exhausted, burnt out. One day I was working with volunteering, let's say, with an art group that does exhibitions and hosts plays. And on that night, I was watching, as I was working, I was watching Soul, the movie, and I kept asking myself, okay, what do I want with this life? And I'm very glad that I asked myself that question and I focused on the here and now during that night. They were hosting this mini after party, and I've always seen myself as better than these things, foolishly so, yani. Um, but I just asked myself, what do I want? And I was like, I want this. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. And I did. And it was great, all of it. I enjoyed so much. I met a lot of amazing people. I stayed in the moment and learned the importance of doing so. And most interestingly, I came back home late at night and I prayed, and it was weirdly the most authentic, real prayer that I have ever done in my life. So, really, the two sides of knowledge that are so important to actually achieve your freedom, to actually resist the system, at the very least on an individual level, is one, why are you gonna do the things that you do? You have to do them consciously, with thought. And in order to actually do that, in order to know what are you gonna do about death, this is really the fundamental question here. What am I gonna do about the fact that I am gonna die horribly? And in order to actually get a clear, honest, let's say even scientific answer to that question, you have to discover yourself. So it is the discovery about yourself and life, and we go back to this idea of as above, so below, because yourself reflects your own life. So you have to discover both and purpose at the same time. Our fight for freedom in this world is really just a fight for authenticity. It's a fight to becoming who we really are. So ponder on those questions and find the answer for your own. It's not gonna happen in 1 week. You're not gonna find a 5-step guide to achieving it. It's gonna take years. Even I'm saying this, but I'm still going to therapy and still on the process of discovering myself. And it's gonna take years. But at the very least, you gotta try. And this is a responsibility, I dare to claim. This is becoming who you really are, becoming authentic, is a responsibility upon yourself to live the life that you want, or at least the best life that is suited for you. And I believe this so dearly that when we discover this power within us, when we live authentically, no longer held by any shackles, the system of these pigs that we call the elite will fall. That is when true rebellion happens, when you rebel against random unconscious laws that you have within yourself and break them to create your own truth. Okay, so that was all for today. I certainly hope you enjoyed. If you want more content like this, hit the like and subscribe button, and you can follow me on my Insta where I do more random nonsense, let's say. I wish you the absolute best and thank you so much for being here. See you on the next one.